Our next process is managing a stage boundary. This process is the one that gets tailored the most out of any other process inside of PRINCE2 Agile. The reason is because you may not even have well-defined stages inside of PRINCE2 Agile. Instead, you may be relying on sprints and releases. Because of this, we're always going to be doing continued viability decisions. We're not going to plan them in advance as stage boundaries like we would in normal prints. Instead, we're constantly looking at, is this project being successful at achieving what we want, and does it continue to be viable? If not, we would stop it and move into closing a project process instead. We're always going to be asking the question, how are things progressing? And how is the team and the processes working together? Is this working out well, or is it not? And what can we do to fix it? And because of all this, we don't have this big formal boundary like we would in normal Prince2. The biggest thing we're going to do inside tailoring this process is doing things to look back, look forward, and look at the big picture. As we look back, we want to think about how did we do so far? How much stuff has been delivered? What quality has been achieved? Was the benefit that we thought was going to be delivered successfully? Is the processes working well? And did we do our reviews and our retrospectives properly to be able to gather those lessons learned? Then we're going to look forward and we're going to start planning our next stage. What things are going to be put into the next release or the next sprint? We're going to review our product and our release backlogs. Do we have enough work that's in the ready bucket for us to be able to start moving forward into the next stage or the next release or the next sprint? And we're going to start planning, what is that next release going to look like? We also then have to look at the bigger picture. We need to review the business case again and the project plan and make sure we're still on track and we're still meeting the goals that this project was set out to achieve. We also need to look at the performance of Agile and how it's working inside our environment. Is Agile going to be continually a way to work in this particular project? Or do we need more governance and more control and less agility? Or do we have less governance and less control because the project is becoming more certain and less risky, and we're going to allow more Agile development to happen? This is the thing we have to decide as whether we're going to continue forward or we're going to stop the project. And that's the way we manage a stage boundary inside the Agile way of working. It's a lot different than what we see in a normal Prince2 scenario. Because in a normal Prince2 scenario, there's this formal deadline, this formal place that we stop and look, should we move forward or not? Inside Agile, we don't do that nearly as much. Instead, we're trying to make sure our processes are improving, our benefits are being realized, and work has been getting done. And if it is, and it's still viable, we'll continue to move forward. So how does controlling a stage look inside this Agile process? Well, it's going to be very visual. We're going to use things like the information radiator and the burn charts to evaluate our progress. We're going to look at the facts and figures from the retrospectives and make sure that the processes are working and that we're getting the product out that we expect to get out. If we are, we can then make the decision to move forward. This is a point of formality and it's carried out with as little ceremony as possible. Unlike Prince2, where we might have a big meeting and a big discussion and figure out whether or not we're going to move forward, a lot of times this is just the product board saying, yep, continue forward, and they just keep moving on, right? There may not even be a formal meeting about it. It may just be something that's done through email or some other informal method.